Welcome to the Treasury Talk podcast, dedicated to demystifying public school finance in the state of Ohio. Before we dive into today's topic, we always start by grounding our conversation in the district's purpose by reading the district mission. The mission of the Kettering City Schools, in partnership with the family and community, is to guarantee a superior educational experience for all students by providing a positive and innovative learning environment while responsibly utilizing our resources. I'm your host, Justin Blevins, the Treasurer and Chief Financial Officer for Kettering City School District. My primary role is to ensure the responsible management of every taxpayer dollar to support our district mission. This podcast series is designed to peel back the layers of school funding, budgeting, and financial planning, giving you, our community stakeholders, transparent access to where your money goes and how those funds directly support the goals and operations of our district, featuring guests who impact these decisions. Today we're focusing on current facilities funding, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our critical voice in our district. Please welcome Mrs. Chrissie Richards, who currently serves as our district's board vice president. Chrissie, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here, Justin.
For our listeners, Mrs. Richards provides governance as a member of the board, helps set policy, approves budgets, and represents the district's vision to the community. Chrissie, would you like to give a summary of your service and history to the district?
Absolutely. So I have lived in Kettering for probably 22, 23 years. I'm not sure exactly. But, both of my children had my children at Kettering, and both of my children have attended Kettering schools. My son graduated in 2024, and my daughter is a sophomore at Fairmont. So we have been Firebirds for a long time.
Deep ties.
Yes. And so I've always been just very passionate about education and just giving back to the community. So when a seat was vacated for the school board in January of 2023, I interviewed for the open slot and was appointed to the board. And so then I had the opportunity to run in November of 2023 and was elected by the community to serve on the Board of Education then. And so I've really enjoyed the opportunity serving on the board, working with Mindy McCarty-Stewart, our superintendent, you, Justin Blevins, and our other board members, focusing on what we can do as a district to enhance our education for the students in our community. I think we have some great opportunities, and I just look forward to seeing what we can do next.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. Chrissie, our topic today is facilities funding. When we look at our school budget, it's easy to group all the money into one big pot, but that's not actually what's going on or how that works legally or even practically. From your perspective on the board, what is the most important distinction our community needs to understand regarding the money we use for people versus the money we use for buildings?
Justin, I think this is a perfect place to start. The biggest misconception is that we can use any dollar for any purpose. In reality, we have multiple district buckets of money. So the most flexible terms of usability is our operating fund or general fund. This pays for the people side of the business: teachers, bus drivers, curriculum, and utilities. Another bucket is our permanent improvement fund or capital fund. This is strictly for things with a lifespan of 5 years or more. This is like roofs, boilers, and paving. We cannot legally use process improvement money to pay a teacher's salary, but just as importantly, we shouldn't be using operating money to fix a roof if we can help it.
That separation is vital, so let's talk about the reality of that second bucket, the permanent improvement fund. We have a district with aging infrastructure. Can you share with our listeners what the actual financial reality is regarding the cost to service our buildings versus the dedicated revenue that we're bringing in for them?
This is a hard reality we face. Currently, our permanent improvement levies generate approximately $2.2 million annually for capital expenses. However, because our buildings are aging, some are nearly 78 years old. The annual cost just to maintain basic systems like the HVAC and roofing is at a point where capital funding is exceeding the specific funds designated for those repairs.
Right. And when those designated PI funds run out, the repairs still have to happen. So a broken boiler in January isn't optional. That's something we would have to take care of. And that is what the financial impact ends up being on the general fund, is because then we have to cover those costs out of those dollars that are typically used for personnel or teachers' tires and textbooks.
Exactly. That is a critical pressure point. When the permanent improvement fund is depleted, we may have to dip into the general fund, the operating budget, to pay for those emergency repairs. Every dollar we take from the general fund to patch a roof is a dollar that isn't going towards instruction, student programs, or stabilizing our operating levy cycle. It accelerates the staircase cycle discussed in the last episode.
Exactly. As board vice president, you have a fiduciary duty to look at the long-term health of the district. How does the board weigh decisions presented to them as it relates to funding long-term solutions?
Justin, it's a difficult balance. We have a responsibility to be fiscally prudent. At some point, the cost of maintenance from the operational budget can threaten the educational mission. Our focus is to make efficient and sustainable investments into our facilities to address the issues we're seeing so that our operating dollars stay where they belong, which is in the classroom.
Chrissie, thank you again for sharing your perspective on our facilities funding. What is one final takeaway or action item you would recommend for our stakeholders as they engage with the district's financial information?
Justin, I hear the concern about cost. I really do. I live in this community and I care about that. I care about the taxes that we pay and I care about where our money is going. What we're seeing is that our buildings are simply getting to a point where maintaining them is becoming more and more expensive, but still doesn't give our students the kind of learning environment they need today. We look closely at renovation, and while it might seem like it's a simpler option, it's actually very costly and often means continuing to patch buildings that won't fully meet our needs. At some point, you're putting significant dollars into facilities that weren't built for the future. New buildings allow us to create safer, more efficient, and more adaptable learning environments that truly support our students now and into the future. This is really about investing wisely for the long term rather than continuing to patch aging facilities. Our future facilities plan will allow us to do this right, create safe, efficient, and flexible spaces that will last for decades.
To our listeners, we hope this episode has provided valuable insight into school finance. Remember that transparency is a core pillar of the Treasurer's Office, and we encourage you to visit the district website at www.ketteringschools.org for the latest financial forecasts, audit reports, and budget details. Join us next time on Treasury Talk. Thank you for listening, and go Birds.
This podcast is produced by the Kettering City School District for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official position of the Board of Education or the district. Any discussion of Ohio public school funding or district finances is general in nature. It should not be considered legal, financial, or tax advice. Listeners should consult official district communications or appropriate professionals for specific guidance. Information shared in this episode is accurate as of the date of the recording. Please note that details may change due to updates in law, policy, or guidance from the state of Ohio, including the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. This podcast does not advocate for or against any ballot issue or candidate. This episode was recorded and produced by students in the Interactive Media program at the Kettering Fairmont Career Technology Center as part of their educational coursework. As a public school district, please be aware that certain communications may be subject to Ohio public record laws. Copyright 2026, Kettering City School District, all rights reserved.